Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
Man, I always love starting off Monday with some catastrophically bad news, huh?
Yeah, man, how you doing today?
Feels like we've done this more than usual this calendar year. Feels like
mean-
Oklahoma has taken more than the typical quota of groin punches on the recruiting trail this year.
I mean, can we extend that back to last football season, too?
Yes, very much so. Whatever happened over the course of the 2024 football season has evidently carried over into the world of recruiting in the 2026 cycle for Oklahoma. And obviously it hasn't been all bad. Shoot, the Sooners got Bowe Bentley. They got Jake Krell. They've gotten several big-time pickups in the 2026 class, got the 2027 class off to a rollicking start with the additions of Luke Wilson and Damari DeJean, respectively. But this was supposed to be a day of triumph, Grayson Singleton. This was supposed to be the day that Oklahoma landed their cornerstone and crown jewel of the 2027 recruiting class in four-star quarterback Peyton Houston. And he's an LSU Tiger as of this morning. And I know people are going to have questions. I know people are going to have a lot of different questions. So I'm prepared to answer any and all of them. But basically, Grayson, this is yet another in a long line of bizarre and shocking recruiting outcomes this year. And this one is as bizarre and shocking as any of them. And I've mentioned it for 3 straight hours now. But I understand we have people that are tuning in randomly that haven't been listening throughout the duration of the time I've been on air. So I'll say it again. I'm less surprised that it wasn't OU for Peyton Houston and more surprised that it was LSU, which sounds really counterintuitive when you're talking about a Louisiana kid.
Right.
But one of the very first things I ever learned about Peyton Houston as I was getting familiar with the kid and his recruitment, one of the very first things that I learned about him, and this was from multiple accounts, not just one person, not just one source, multiple accounts. Hey, Peyton Houston's not going to LSU. Peyton Houston's not going to be an LSU Tiger. And, of course, you can't help but wonder why, right? And so do some probing, ask some leading questions, and come to find out, and I think it's been borne out by what's been in front of everyone's faces all along throughout this process, is that LSU, from the early stages, never really truly prioritized Peyton Houston, or at least it didn't appear that they did. Elijah Haven, for a long while, was regarded as the number 1 quarterback in the 2027 cycle. There are some services that still regard him as such. He is right there in LSU's backyard in Baton Rouge.
Mm-hmm.
There's another quarterback in the boot in Malachi Ziegler that is a stud in his own right as well. And then there's Peyton Houston from Shreveport. So in the 2027 cycle, the state of Louisiana has 3 certifiable studs at the quarterback position that have offers coast to coast. And the guy that LSU put a red eye on more than the others was Elijah Haven. You also have therein the complicating factor of the presence of Garrett Nussmeier's younger brother, Colton, a left-handed quarterback and himself a blue chipper in the 2027 class. He has long been an LSU lean. He is not committed, but the expectation is that he will wind up in LSU's class. And so for so many reasons, and there were some stories that I heard about interactions between Houston and the LSU staff during some of his past visits to Baton Rouge, and I'm not even really sure how much I trust those at this point, because an outcome like this does kind of leave you wondering whether you were bamboozled by you kind of just, I guess you come to question the validity of pretty much everything you've heard from certain sources of information throughout the recruitment.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived.
Amen to that. Because that's kind of what it feels like. Is if you would have told me a week ago that Payton Houston wasn't going to wind up in Oklahoma sooner, I would have said, I think he is. But if you had told me, no, USC is going to coax him off the Oklahoma commitment at the last second, or Texas is going to coax him off an Oklahoma commitment at the last second, I at least would have given you the time of day. I wouldn't have completely dismissed that notion. But the fact that it's LSU, Grayson, is baffling, particularly because, I mean, you talk about the wide net that LSU has cast in the 2027 class when it comes to quarterbacks. They had 4 2027 signal callers on campus this past Saturday when Peyton Houston took the final visit before his commitment. It was him, it was Elijah Haven, it was Colton Nussmeier, it was Luke Babin from the state of Texas. 4 2027 quarterbacks on campus at the same time. You contrast that with Oklahoma's approach in the Peyton Houston recruitment, and no doubt it's going to be second-guessed now that Peyton Houston chose LSU over Oklahoma, but the Sooners offered and recruited and prioritized one guy and one guy only in the 27 cycle, and that was Peyton Houston.
And I think also our experience with the Jaden Bowe Bentley saga led us to overestimate the value of Ben Arbuckle only recruiting Peyton Houston. I think in the end, that didn't really matter as much as we would have, and by the way, wisely so, would have thought that it would to a guy like Peyton Houston. But ultimately, just to spin this in an Oklahoma direction, I think you're okay. Bowe Bentley being in tow in the 2026 class sort of mitigates the fact that, this could kind of seem like a colossal disaster. It's not. Because with Michael Hawkins, if you're able to convince Michael Hawkins to stick around, and then you've got the transition from him to Bowe Bentley, you are still presumably set up all the way to 2029, pretty much. So it's not like this is the worst thing in the world to happen. You can say Peyton Houston is going to be a pretty good quarterback, maybe even a Heisman quarterback. That is fine. There are, like you mentioned, there are more quarterbacks in the 2027 class that are really good. Malachi Ziegler's one that I've become familiar with because he's been tied, or not tied, but linked to SMU for the last couple of months. So I've gotten real familiar with him. But ultimately, even if you don't land your 2027 quarterback of preference, if you believe that Michael Hawkins is that dude, and if you believe that Bowe Bentley is going to be that dude after him, you're okay. You're okay. But I think ultimately one of the things we overestimated was the fact that Ben Arbuckle put a red eye on Peyton Houston and only on Peyton Houston. And clearly he doesn't mind going to a program that is likely going to take 2 quarterbacks in the 2027 cycle.
The Waffler asks, dude, why do you think it's totally baffling? The kid is born and raised in Louisiana. And again, Waffler, if you didn't know any better, on paper, this would make perfect sense. Oh, Louisiana kid going to play for LSU. But again, when you come to understand the actual circumstances, i.e., there were other signal callers that LSU was ostensibly prioritizing more than Peyton Houston, including one not only within state lines, but within the city limits of Baton Rouge, then you come to understand, and this was reality as far as I understood it. I don't know if it changed or if it was just... or if there was just deception going on the entire time. But as I understood it, Peyton Houston was just kind of content to let LSU hang around there in the background and kind of give them a cursory nod as the in-state powerhouse in his home state, but that he was going to pursue other options more seriously. And again, it didn't matter who you listened to or who you followed or whose reporting you tracked throughout this process. There were times that it looked like OU's primary competition was Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
There was times it looked like it was Texas or Texas A&M or USC. There was never a time until about the last 48 hours
that it was LSU.
That we were talking about LSU as a serious threat to land Peyton Houston. A week ago, or less than a week ago, pretty much all of the most credible national recruiting reporters in the industry were all unanimous in their belief that Oklahoma was going to land Peyton Houston. There was somebody on the text line that asked, did the Sooner staff believe Peyton would commit to OU, or was it a strong hope? No, they had every reason to believe that Peyton Houston was going to commit to OU. They thought it was happening. And if they had any reason to doubt it, again, we would have seen Ben Arbuckle throw out more quarterback offers throughout the year. They didn't, and it's because they believed they had the Peyton Houston recruitment well in hand. I don't spend a great deal of time on LSU message boards. I cannot reliably provide an account of every single thing that has ever been reported about Peyton Houston and LSU's involvement in his recruitment over the last year and a half. But I would venture to guess that if you rewind and read some of the LSU beat reporters' words about Peyton Houston throughout this process, again, up until about the last week, you would have come to the conclusion that LSU isn't a serious player either. It's Oklahoma, or it's USC, or it's maybe Texas or Texas A&M, but certainly not LSU. Yet here we are. He is an LSU Tiger, and this kind of leaves Oklahoma wandering the wilderness, at least for a little while here. Now, you mentioned something that is absolutely true, Grayson, and that is that the 2027 quarterback class looks deep. I say looks deep because the 2023 quarterback class looked deep, and we know how that turned out.
That one has not turned out well.
We know exactly how that turned out. But there do appear to be a bunch of talented signal callers in the upper echelon in this 2027 recruiting cycle. And so a couple names that it wouldn't shock me if Oklahoma got involved with. A couple guys it wouldn't shock me if you saw Oklahoma connected to in the days ahead are Malachi Ziegler, whom Grayson mentioned, and then Weston Nielsen out of Bastrop, Texas. Now, I'm not saying it will be those two specifically or that those two will be the only ones that Oklahoma gets involved with, because, again, we're talking about a deep class, and there's going to be a thorough reevaluation of the board. There's not, to my understanding, in talking to a well-placed source last night, there's not one guy that stands out above the rest when you're looking at the open market in the 27 cycle right now, as far as the Oklahoma staff sees it, at least. The guy that did stand out above the rest for the longest time was Peyton Houston. But now that he's out of the picture, you got to go back to the drawing board. And it'll be a collaborative effort between the staff and the front office to decide which quarterback they make the move on. And here's what's interesting, Grayson. I don't know if this has really even been considered. This is going to be the first quarterback offer of the Jim Nagy era at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Because the Bowe Bentley offer preceded Nagy's arrival,
Yep.
and the Peyton Houston offer preceded Nagy's arrival. Now, they did offer a 2028 quarterback. They offered Ty Simpson's younger brother, Graham. I can't recall offhand. I may be wrong. That might have come post-Nagy. It might have come pre-Nagy. I can't exactly recall. But I think we're going to learn a lot about the calculus and the process within that building and what all of those folks as a collective value in their signal callers of choice based upon who gets this offer, who is Oklahoma's next target in the 27 class at quarterback.
Speaking of next target, on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, 405-651-3439, would OU, this is from Slim Brady, would OU offer Kavian Bryant?
At this point, and Kavian Bryant, for those unaware, very talented quarterback from Westwood High School in Palestine, Texas. Sound familiar? It sure should. If you're an OU fan, you should know. Palestine, Texas. But he is among the top signal callers rankings-wise in the 27 class. Here's the issue.
Number 2.
Yeah, here's the issue. Texas has been in strong standing with Kavian Bryant for quite some time, and Texas Tech is now heavily involved as well. And what do you know about any high-end player that Texas Tech is heavily involved with?
They're going to get an offer that has a lot of zeros on the back end of it.
And let's be completely honest with ourselves here, Grayson. if it comes down to an all-out bidding war between Oklahoma and Texas Tech, who is in all likelihood winning that bidding war?
Probably Texas Tech, but also don't discount Texas if they want to pony up the dollars too. I mean, they're the ones that spent the most, not Texas Tech.
So I think to a certain extent you got to be realistic, and that doesn't mean settling for an inferior option. That doesn't mean, you got to start scrounging the ranks of the 3 stars to find your next signal caller. No, you can find guys, and there are plenty of guys on the open market right now that are of comparable talent level to Kavian Bryant, but given that Texas and Texas Tech specifically are both chasing that guy, it's probably in your best interest to focus your efforts elsewhere because the price tag could get really, really expensive.
So there was another text earlier that asked about Elijah Haven, or maybe that was on the YouTube, but he's going to Florida. I think that's the expectation.
Well, that has been the expectation. I said it last hour, though. I don't know that Billy Napier is going to be employed by this time next week. So that could throw everything into limbo on the Florida end of things. I don't know who the next head coach would be. I don't know how much of a staff shuffle there's going to be. But it would seem, especially with Florida's schedule going forward, that's a team that at this point, they'll be lucky to get bowl eligible, Grayson. So does Florida look remotely as alluring to a guy like Elijah Haven right now, who has kind of his pick of the litter nationally? Yeah. He does not have the Oklahoma offer yet because, again, Peyton Houston is the only guy in the 27 class that had a committable offer from Oklahoma before this morning. I do halfway wonder, given the fact that it does look like LSU is going to continue to pursue and ultimately take Garrett Nussmeier's younger brother, I wonder if once everything kind of cools down, because I know emotions have been running really, really high on the OU side naturally over the last 24 hours or so, I wonder if they try and play the long game with Peyton Houston and leave the light on for him, if you will. Not to say that they don't pursue other quarterbacks in the meantime, but continue the dialogue, gauge his interest in keeping up the relationship, and then just kind of see what happens over the next few months.
What do you think about that? Do you think there is a chance long term? Because Brian Kelly isn't going anywhere. So that's not a Billy Napier situation. Do you think there is an outside chance that Oklahoma could flip him? Or do you think this one's closer to being all said and done?
I would say very seldom do I count on Oklahoma or any school flipping anybody. There are a few rare exceptions over the years. You could count on Oklahoma flipping Peyton Bowen, for instance, and they did. I feel like at this point you can pretty well count on Oklahoma flipping Cooper Hackett in the long run. That looks like a high percentage flip possibility. With Peyton Houston, it's just kind of a hypothetical, maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. Let's see how it plays out. But certainly in the meantime, you're going to be recruiting and pursuing other quarterbacks because if you want to call it a mistake, the way that Oklahoma approached the 2027 class, I don't necessarily think it was, especially because, nobody knew Bowe Bentley's name at this time last year. So there may still be guys in the 27 cycle that the national eye has not yet become acquainted with. That'll be among the top signal callers in the country by the time the 27 class comes into full focus. But whether you want to call it a mistake or not, one thing you're definitely not going to do is continue to make the same mistake over and over. And what that looks like at this point is just continuing to count on things coming to an ultimately favorable conclusion with Peyton Houston. You don't bank on that kid flipping at this point. 405-651-3439. Thanks to those of you that have already interacted on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. We look forward to answering many more of your text line questions throughout the show. You're listening to Locked In, brought to you by Dorsey Jones GMC out in El Reno. If you're looking for a new vehicle, Dorsey Jones offers some of the most reliable trucks and SUVs on the road today. GMC offers some of the most reliable trucks and SUVs on the road today. So go check them out there in El Reno. They also offer phenomenal service, including half-price oil changes on Saturdays. Dorsey Jones is the proud sponsor of Locked In here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Much more ahead. Stay right here.
The Ref Radio Sports Network is powered statewide by the insurance adjusters at Brown O'Haver. Fire, wind, theft, or tornado, we can help. Call 405-735-5510.
Have you or someone you know suffered a loss to your home or business from the recent storms? Before you accept a settlement, call Brown O'Haver at 405-735-5510. Brown O'Haver is a local-based company helping Oklahomans with claims since 1988 with preparation and expert analysis detailing your loss and insurance settlement. As your trusted consultant, Brown O'Haver can give you peace of mind and make sure you're getting what's yours. Call Brown O'Haver today, 405-735-5510, and make sure they're working for you.
Purple Wave Auction remains the trusted leader in online equipment auctions. What makes the difference is you. You are part of our growing global community that continues to trust Purple Wave with the equipment that builds and feeds America. This trust placed in us by our community, from construction to ag producers and fleet drivers, brings great equipment opportunities to their next owners. Join the Purple Wave community today. purplewave.com.
For the professional, it's not enough to just possess knowledge. That's why at GMC, we seek to refine it, to wield its power, to redefine its boundaries, while pushing the limits. And we put this knowledge to the test in every GMC Sierra by engineering each one to outperform your expectations. So you know you're getting precision and durability when you need it most. And that's what makes the GMC Sierra the truck worth knowing. We are professional grade. See your Oklahoma GMC dealers.
Mike Steele here for Lasher Home Comfort Systems, your trusted home comfort experts in the Oklahoma City metro area. Tim Lasher and his team have more than 130 years of combined experience. They recognize a significant number of homeowners live with inadequate home comfort systems. They specialize in diagnosing your home system issues while providing more efficiency and reducing your utility costs. As an authorized dealer of American Standard, Tim can service your residence or business. Call Tim and his team at 405-579-3113. Lasher Home Comfort Systems.
Dreaming of your own backyard oasis? Be the envy of your neighborhood and let Signature Custom Pools help you create the perfect poolside paradise. Their professional design expertise can transport you into your own Mystic Falls, suburban sanctuary, or Mediterranean retreat. Settle into an endless vacation, entertain your family, friends, and get the signature touch with Signature Custom Pools. Call them for a free consultation at 405-898-9098 or visit them online at signaturecustompools.com today.
Do you like to stand out in a crowd while wearing the best in OU apparel? The Jimmy Austin Pro Shop carries the best brands you can wear to work or even dress up events. Lines such as Lululemon, Travis Mathew, FootJoy, Greg Norman, Grayson, or Turtleson with the OU and Jimmy Austin logo are sure to catch everyone's eye. You don't have to be a golfer to shop at Jimmy Austin. They also do corporate special orders for you and your company. Call them today, 405-325-6716, or visit theougolfclub.com for more information.
Friday night lights can bring Saturday morning pains. That's why Ortho Central offers a Saturday injury clinic for high school athletes every Saturday from 8 to 9:30 a.m. Open September through November. Get a free initial evaluation of sports injuries at our Norman or Midwest City locations. No appointment needed. When the hits keep coming, don't play hurt. Ortho Central is your team to turn setbacks into comebacks. Learn more at orthocentralok.com.
Looking for a trusted, locally owned and operated roofing company in Oklahoma? Black Thunder Roofing is a top-rated Home Advisor Elite Service Award winner and recipients of multiple Angie Superior Service Awards. They can do it all. Black Thunder also does free inspections and estimates. Locally operated in Norman and Edmond, Black Thunder Roofing serves OKC's metro area south to Purcell, Noble, Blanchard, as well as Yukon, Mustang, Bethany, and Piedmont. Visit blackthunderroofing.com or call 405-473-8028 for your free estimate today.
It is Locked In here on the Ref. Parker, Thune, Grayson, Singleton with you on a Monday. Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line is 405-651-3439 if you want to tap in with us. Recruiting Boomer says, we look forward to interacting with you on the text line as long as you're not Recruiting Boomer. Listen, nothing personal, sir. It's a Monday after a game and a Monday on which Oklahoma did not land a quarterback prospect that as of 72 hours ago they were fully expected to land. So we're getting inundated with texts. Trust me, Recruiting Boomer, we are not intentionally avoiding your texts. Now, Fisk here on the text line says, is it logical to question the effectiveness of Peyton Houston at the next level of competition? He's 5'10" in the program, and that's probably with cleats. Now, Peyton Houston's 5'11". I've seen that kid in person many a time. He's not 6 feet tall, but he's a solid 5'11". Is it logical to question his effectiveness at the next level? I mean, look, you can make a logical argument for questioning the effectiveness of pretty much any quarterback's effectiveness at the next level because, I mean, for instance, it doesn't really matter what he looks like as a physical specimen either. I mean, the polar opposite of a guy like Peyton Houston as far as physique is concerned is somebody like Nico Iamaleava. 6'5", rail thin with a whip of an arm, and Nico Iamaleava looks horrible so far. UCLA looks horrible so far. UCLA is probably going 0-12 in the year of our Lord 2025. They have already fired their head coach. They had maybe 800 fans at their last game. I'm being slightly hyperbolic. It was more than 800. But there were plenty more empty seats in the Rose Bowl than there were seats filled. And UCLA got mollywopped by New Mexico, 35-10.
You talk about a program that is circling the drain, dog.
Yeah. So, look, can you question Peyton Houston's effectiveness at the next level because of his height? Sure you can. I mean, that's fair. I will say, you're not going to get any spin zone from me here. I said it long before Peyton Houston even had the offer from OU. I said it last week when we were expecting him to commit to OU. I'll say it again right now. He is one of the most polished and college-ready quarterback prospects I've ever seen at that age. Maybe the most polished and college-ready. And I think he's going to have an incredible career at the next level. At LSU or wherever it is he signs, I think he's going to be very, very successful. 5'11" is also notably the same height as a guy that threw his first NFL touchdown pass yesterday, Dylan Gabriel.
He did.
DG got a little bit of garbage time run for the Cleveland Browns, of which there might be quite a lot this year because they also suck.
I still can't believe we live in a world where Joe Flacco is still a starting quarterback in the NFL.
He's so old.
He looks old, too. A texter in the 405 says Diego Pavia is like 5'6", and he's balling.
Diego Pavia is so much fun to watch, man. I like Diego Pavia. I don't know how good Vandy is, but, man, they put it on South Carolina.
I would say they mollywopped South Carolina. Good. Now, Lenore Sellers got knocked out of the game, but
that is true.
But South Carolina did not play good.
Having lived the Davis Beville experience, I know better than to jump to conclusions about any team that was playing their backup quarterback for a majority of a given game or for a team that was facing an opponent that was playing their backup quarterback for the majority of a given game. Jake from Wisconsin says, have you guys seen that stupid Nash Talks Texas? Okay, I'm just going to stop reading the text at that point, Jake, because Nash Talks Texas should not be taken seriously by you or anyone else. Any content being produced by Nash Talks Texas will not be discussed on these airwaves unless it's Nash Talks Texas mourning a loss for his beloved Longhorns to the University of Oklahoma, in which case Steely will make it a staple for years to come, as he did with Nash's immediate reaction to the 2023 game. Oh, man. What else we got here on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line? Brian and Bixby says that 23 quarterback class may be the biggest bust ever. Yeah. It's bad.
It's pretty bad.
Like Dante Moore is probably the best of them at this point.
And look, I was actually looking up a bunch of stuff earlier this morning. Dante Moore's had a pretty decent start to the season. They've played nobody. I mean, granted, they didn't think that Oklahoma State was going to be as bad as it is when they scheduled that game, but they played nobody, but he's taking care of his business.
A 405 listener says, recruiting analyst, the only job where you can be wrong all the time and keep your job. Joke. Okay, listen.
Well, that and a meteorologist.
Exactly. Well, honestly, recruiting is like meteorology in the sense that, as is not the case with traditional journalism, where you are reporting on things that have happened and or are happening in real time, you're trying to predict what will happen. I am not Nostradamus. Steve Wiltfong is not Nostradamus. Sam Spiegelman is not Nostradamus. And guess what? When you're dealing with 16 and 17-year-old kids and their families, first off, the kids' minds change. Secondly, the priorities of those in their circle can evolve. And things can change on a dime. They can. They do all the time. Trust me, I'm as annoyed as you are by some of it. You think I like it? When I have a prediction on the books from June of 2024, pegging Oklahoma as the destination for Peyton Houston, and 16 months later, the entire industry is coming around to that same line of thinking that this kid's about to commit to the University of Oklahoma. And then within the last 48 hours, it falls through. Do you think I'm having any fun right now? I hate it as much as you do. But this is the nature of the beast.
It's like you had finally convinced everybody that you were right.
I know!
Only to be wrong.
Gosh, personally for me, that's the most annoying part of all of it. I had this a year and a half ago.
I don't blame you.
But no, it's like, look, you're trying to predict the future, and you're trying to arrive at conclusions about the decisions that 17-year-old kids are going to make. You have been a 17-year-old kid, dear listener, just as I have. Our brains were very fickle and subject to changing with the wind at that time. And we also didn't have generational wealth dangled in front of us.
We didn't
either.
have six figures dangled in front of us either. Papa E says Parker needs a nap.
Man. Recruiting Boomer says, this is what we wanted, Parker blowing a gasket.
Papa Boganowski says, a Parker crash out. Don't think I've ever seen one.
I'm not crashing out. I'll be okay. We'll all be okay.
Bruh, you were banging a pin on the mic just now.
I guess so. I guess I was. It's the closest to crashing out that I've maybe ever come on this show.
Yeah.
Man. 15 months. 15 months prescient, only for it all to fall through at the last second. Tragic.
So when are you issuing your next crystal ball?
And again, like, this is part of the reason. This is part of the reason I haven't made any predictions.
I had to bring it up.
In what, 2-3 months? And probably won't anymore, because predictions, by nature, are going to lead people to the wrong conclusions. I.e., it is a foregone conclusion that XYZ player is going to commit to the University of Oklahoma. And I hope everyone will acknowledge that's a credit to those of us in the industry that do the legwork to obtain information. The fact that there are folks out there that consider predictions a rock-solid guarantee of where a kid is committing, that connotation only exists because you trust that we have viable sources of information. And we do, which is why, like, I could reliably inform members at OUinsider.com yesterday as things were changing in real time. Hey, it actually looks like this kid's going to be committing to LSU tomorrow over Oklahoma.
What did that information look like? What were those and don't quote it directly, but what were those conversations like when everybody started realizing, wait, he's going to LSU?
Oh, yeah. No, listen, I was having conversations with folks on the OU side, folks on the Louisiana side, some of my colleagues on the national recruiting beat. And I guess the emotion that was most prominent throughout those conversations was just one of surprise from pretty much every single angle. Except maybe the LSU side. Like, again, I suspect strongly that there maybe was some sandbagging on the LSU side. I don't know how long that was going on. But everybody thought the kid was going to be an Oklahoma Sooner 3 days ago. Everybody thought he was going to be an Oklahoma Sooner a week ago. And it was not to be. Oh, Brian in Bixby says, I didn't hear the first of the show. What is the reason for Houston? Well, that's the million-dollar question. And Houston has not addressed his commitment. He has not spoken to the media for several weeks now. None of the folks in his camp have spoken to the media. And so I really don't know why this all changed and changed so quickly. People are going to bring up Occam's razor, right? Sometimes the simplest explanation is the correct one. You can contrive in your mind what the simple explanation might be. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I think there's a conclusion that many are going to come to as to why everything changed on a dime. And to be fair, it's the same reason a lot of recruitments change on a dime.
Yeah. A texter in Georgia says, hi, my name is Parker, and Peyton Houston turned me into an alcoholic.
Hopefully it doesn't come to that. U.S. Army Sooner says, okay, Parker, we're 35 minutes into a show talking about a kid that didn't commit to Oklahoma. What else have we got to talk about? Well, I'm glad you asked, U.S. Army Sooner, because I'd love to talk about anything other than this recruitment at this point in time. So how about this? Let's hit a break because we're due. And when we get back, let's talk about OU football. More specifically, the man that belongs on a milk carton as of late, one Jaden A.
Oh, this should be fun.
405-651-3439. Keep it right here, and we will return with more to come here on Locked In.
Sound off any time of day on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439. Knippelmeyer Chevrolet in Blanchard, USA.
Don't miss out on OKC's hottest entertainment at the Showplace Theater with acts like
Bret Michaels, September 27th. Collective Soul, October 17th. And the Oak Ridge Boys, November 28th.
Above.
Riverwind is OKC's favorite casino experience.
Hi, Teddy Lehman here for Titan Title and Closing. And when I played for OU, I knew I could trust my teammates. And when you're making the biggest decision of your life, like selling or buying your home, you want a team you can trust. That's why you can call my teammate, Devry.
Thanks, Teddy. As one of the partners here in Norman at Titan Title and Closing, I know a thing or two about Norman. I've raised my children here, and I've been in the real estate industry for over 25 years. We work with over 25 entities that are involved in each transaction, and our team plays on both sides of the transaction to achieve a win for our realtors, lenders, builders, sellers, and buyers. When you sell your property, be sure to ask your agent to close with Titan Title and Closing here in Norman. You can contact us today at 405-689-8617. Again, that's 405-689-8617.
Are you looking for luxury apartments for rent in Norman? The Falls at Brookhaven offers stunning apartments and a well-maintained, calm atmosphere. Enjoy our landscaping, a swim in the pool, or take your pet for a walk in one of our 2 dog parks. Our spacious outdoor areas and state-of-the-art amenities will make this new home feel like a resort. All this can be right outside of your door when you live at the Falls at Brookhaven. Call our locally owned and operated community at 405-701-8233 or go online to thefallsatbrookhaven.com to view our spacious floor plans.
For 3 generations, the John M. Ireland and Son Funeral Home and Chapel in Morris continued to serve the community by giving back to local schools, charitable organizations, and first responders.
We provide pre-planning for funerals and cremation services at the most reasonable prices.
We are proud to be a family-owned and operated funeral home.
Award-winning funeral home year after year, our family believes in serving the people of our community.
I'm John Ireland.
And I'm Solon Daniels.
You've got our word on it.
Midwest Lit Fest is back from 11 to 3 behind Vance Auto Group in Guthrie.
Wait, free to enter?
Yep, free to enter, drive, and thrive.
I heard they completely redid the off-road obstacle course.
No way.
Bring your Jeep, Ford Bronco, lifted truck, or SUV and hit the off-road course.
That plus live music from the Sugar-Free All-Stars? The kids will love that.
Food trucks, raffles, prizes, face painting, an e-bike course for kids, and RC crawlers.
I'm definitely going to donate donate this year to Casa for Kids.
Presented by Kicker Performance Audio. Free face painting, free course access, free e-bike rides, free everything.
No off-road ride? No problem. Vance Auto Group is offering free ride-alongs in our very own Jeeps, Broncos, and we even heard the sheriff will be roaming around in his lifted truck.
Don't miss Midwest Lift Fest Saturday from 11 to 3 in Guthrie, Oklahoma on September 27th.
The Oaks and Mustang is coming soon to Mustang, conveniently located on County Line Road and the Turnpike in Mustang. The Oaks will have spacious 1- and 2-bedroom apartments with large walk-in closets, package lockers, and even a sparkling pool. The Oaks is pre-leasing for October 25, so don't wait. Contact the Oaks and Mustang on their website, theoaksandmustang.com, to be where everyone will want to be. The Oaks and Mustang pre-leasing in October, theoaksandmustang.com.
On the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, 405-651-3439. Tim from the 6-9 asked here on Locked In. Parker, when you heard the Peyton Houston news, did your face look like you were going to the bathroom? Yeah, pretty much. I felt so good last week, man. So good. Like, you know how good it feels to stand on business with that Oklahoma prediction through all the Texas noise and all the USC smoke, and then by consensus 5 days out, everybody's like, well, yep, it's Oklahoma. And I'm getting texts from my colleagues across the industry like, hey, you nailed this one, PT, well done. And then, boom, Sunday night rolls around and the kid's going to LSU. Brutal. The Sooner Andy asked, come on, Parker, if you have relationships with the Houston camp, go straight to their camp and ask what's up. Have you? I have, Sooner Andy. I've made some phone calls that I hope get returned because I would like clarity as much as you all would. No doubt about it. We'll see. But on to one of the other major storylines in the world of OU football right now, and that is the disappearance of Jaden Ott. The absence of Jaden Ott. Jaden Ott carried the ball 4 times for 11 yards on Saturday against Temple. He did not see the field until the Sooners' final offensive possession of the football game. Grayson Singleton on the year. He has 9 carries for a whopping total of 17 yards, averaging less than 2 yards per carry for those that aren't inclined to do the quick math on their own. It's been 3 games. We're a quarter of the way through the season. Maybe it's still a little too soon to officially toll the death knell of the Jaden Ott era, the Jaden Ott experience at the University of Oklahoma. But let's shoot straight here, Grayson. Right now, that just looks like a bad investment.
Yeah, it does. And I'm not going to lie to you. I almost texted you in the middle of the game. I was around a bunch of people, and one guy asked me, he's like, what do you think? I'm like, I have somebody who might be able to answer this for me, but I forgot to text you. Anyway, it does look like a bad investment, but it's not the worst because that whole salary cap light thing hasn't really kicked in just yet. Now, if we're talking about something like this a year from now, okay, now you've got a problem because your cap is being eaten up by a dude who just isn't performing. But today, it's not as catastrophic as it could be down the line. Here's the thing about Jaden Ott and the way I look at it. In sports, in all levels of sports, you could middle school, high school, whatever, anybody who grew up playing sports, I think, can relate to this. When you miss time in practice, and whether it's an injury or something, that is a natural avenue for somebody else to come in and take your spot, regardless of whether or not it's a referendum on you particularly. You just happen to miss the time. And what has clearly happened in the time that Jaden Ott has missed and then worked his way back, however progressively and however fast or lack of speed that progression has been to get back, Torrey Blaylock has clearly taken full advantage of it to the point now where whether or not the character concerns or whether he's soft or whether he's not practicing when he could be practicing, the hell with all of that. What has clearly been established is that Torrey Blaylock has taken the baton and run with it, taken the opportunity and made the most of it. And at this point, you just got to ride the hot hand.
Yeah.
There's no reason, especially where you're struggling to generate a running game with the running backs. If you find something that works, regardless of what you feel about Jaden Ott, you got to keep it going with Torrey Blaylock.
To me, I want to give a couple of shout-outs here. First off, a tip of the cap to Torrey Blaylock, because for that kid to show up and have done what he's done through 3 games is nothing short of wildly impressive.
Hands down.
True freshman running backs, especially Grayson. How many guys do you see that show up on a college campus as a true freshman at the running back position and make an immediate impact? They are few and far between.
Very rarely.
Very seldom do you see this. So for Torrey Blaylock to show up and to have done what he's done to this point, good on him, man. Also good on Javonte Barnes. I know he's polarizing. I know not everybody loves Javonte Barnes. I know not everybody is a fan of his game. But here's what you can say about Javonte Barnes. He rides for the University of Oklahoma, man. And he's been through a lot physically that's probably limited him in terms of the burst and the sheer ceiling as a runner that we saw flashes of in 2022 when he was a true freshman and a really exciting one. But he's going to continue to have a role in this offense, if for no other reason than the fact that he can block, man. He can block. You need a 6-man protection, Javonte Barnes is your guy. And so those two, Torrey Blaylock and Javonte Barnes, they've done good work so far, on the whole. Torrey Blaylock at times has done spectacular work. He did spectacular work on Saturday. And he's not 100% healthy either, as Brent Venables noted after the game. You're not looking at 100% of Torrey Blaylock right now. But Jaden Ott, man, if he's not 100%, okay, is what it is. The question I have at that point is, why is less than 100% of Torrey Blaylock that much better and that much more impactful than less than 100% of Jaden Ott?
And they have roughly the same injury, too, at least the same body part.
I don't get it, man. I don't get it at all. And I've heard certain things about Jaden Ott. I've heard certain things about DeMarco Murray. I've heard certain things. I've heard a lot of varying explanations from within about what could be and what is playing into Jaden Ott's lack of action thus far. But I asked Brent Venables about Jaden Ott after the game on Saturday, and his answer was the most revealing, I think, Grayson. And his answer, like the very first words out of Brent Venables' mouth with regard to Jaden Ott were, wish he was a little further along in every way. That does not paint a very encouraging picture.
No, it doesn't, because at that point, you know what you're getting away from? The political correctness of coach speak. You know how fed up a coach has to be with a player to say that? Because usually, I mean, you can go through all levels of college and pro sports and a coach be fed up with somebody and they won't say that. Do you know how fed up and done with the situation they have to be for him to just say, hey, look, screw it, man. He just ain't where we want him to be.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of also implied stuff behind that too. Yeah. There's also the insinuated, and it don't look like he wants to be where we want him to be as well.
Well, and to that point, what did the eye test tell you about Jaden Ott on Saturday?
Pretty disinterested.
The eye test to me did not suggest, this is a guy that has a 1,300-yard rushing season under his belt at the P4 level. This is the dude that Oklahoma brought in to transform their backfield in 2025. No, if you didn't know any better, Grayson, the eye test on Saturday would have told you that's just RB4.
Yeah.
That's all he is. He's the 4th-string running back.
Yeah.
And so, look, is it a bad investment? It sure looks like it right now. We can make that judgment with finality, I think, after the Kent State game. Because I'll tell you one thing, Grayson. If Jaden Ott has not worked his way into the rotation, if he has not earned a substantial chunk of the carries by the Kent State game, it is not happening the rest of the season, barring injury.
Oh, no.
Barring injury at that point, no. You are playing the guys that you trust across a 7-game stretch in which, as of right now, every single one of those opponents is in the AP Top 25. You are not putting guys on the field that you don't trust. And to me, the lack of usage through 3 games suggests that the Oklahoma coaching staff does not have enough trust in Jaden Ott to play him over Torrey Blaylock and Javonte Barnes. And so you will have a very clearly defined backfield hierarchy.
Throw Xavier Robinson in that too.
Yeah, absolutely. You will have a very clearly defined backfield hierarchy by the time the Kent State game has come and passed. And if Jaden Ott is not actively involved in the backfield committee at that point, he is just getting buried for the rest of the season. He will not be on the field in any meaningful situations outside of, barring injury, obviously. Injury could shuffle the deck a little bit, but you're not seeing Jaden Ott at that point if you have what the coaching staff considers to be a better alternative. And right now, it's clear that they consider Torrey Blaylock in particular to be a far better alternative.
I mean, at this, and I'll say it again, at this point, you don't upset the one thing in that particular facet of the game that you have going for you. I mean, there's no need. I mean, now Torrey Blaylock, and I know they got inflated because they played a pretty inferior team, but Torrey Blaylock right now is averaging just under 5 yards a carry.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is a team where it looks like their biggest point of concern going forward is going to be generating a running game through the running back. So if that's your dude averaging less than 5 yards, just a tick under 5 yards a carry, roll with him.
And here's my thing on Jaden Ott going back to Saturday, man. I'm not going to call a kid soft. It's not my place to do so.
I generally stay away from that too.
Not my place to call a kid soft. However, show me you care. Do something on that football field to make it look like you care. I didn't see anything that suggested that from Jaden Ott on Saturday.
And look, maybe it's, the product of the situation that I laid out a few minutes ago was that when he did get hurt and Torrey Blaylock was able to make that much of an impression, the coaches were like, yeah, we're going to ride with him, and you missed time. Not your fault, but you missed time. And maybe he just looked at it and said, well, damn. I mean, I'm trying. And that I'm not defending him, by the way. This isn't a defense. But I am saying as a possibility, that could be how he looked at it. Is like, well, screw this at that point.
Zach and Purcell says, watching Ott block no one at all showed me what I needed to know. Glenn from Nashville said, cannot give up on Ott yet. We need him for depth, if nothing else. They clearly don't trust Taylor Tatum at this point, so Ott needs to be in the picture. Tatum's getting past an injury. He's getting past a couple of different injuries, I should say. And so you may start to see Taylor Tatum at some point in the next couple of weeks, but what has Venables said time and again? Availability is the best ability. And so Taylor Tatum has a lot of ground to make up at this point. A lot of ground to make up. Javonte Barnes and Torrey Blaylock took full advantage of the reality that they were the only two running backs healthy for the entirety of fall camp. And they have parlayed those reps into more snaps on game day. And it hasn't just been that, right? They've also competed. They've both competed their tails off thus far. They haven't really left the door open. I mean, you could argue Barnes left the door open for the other guys with his performance in week 1, but he very quickly rebounded. Had a nice week 2, had a nice week 3.
And here's the thing with Barnes, too. I think there is a defined role for Barnes now. He can catch swing passes out. The one time where John Mateer, I think it was in the Michigan game, where Mateer recognized that there was one more blitzer coming than they could account for, and he just swung it out to Javonte. I think that is a great role for him. You mentioned as a pass protector and a guy in blitz pickup. Like, he can fit in there. But I think in terms of being your every down back, I think that ship has sailed. But there is a role, and an important one, for Javonte Barnes.
And I mentioned this in the 12 o'clock hour, but I think it bears repeating. I respect the fact that this is just how this coaching staff operates, too. They're not going to commit the sunk cost fallacy. They're not going to try to force the issue with Jaden Ott just because he's making a lot of money. If he's not good enough to play, he's not going to play. And Captain Willard on the text line said, with Ott, it's simple. BV wants you to play every snap like it's the last one you're ever playing in the biggest game of your life. Haven't seen Jaden Ott do that in a Sooner uniform. Again, to me, we'll know by the time the K-State game goes, or the Kent State game, I should say, goes final. I wish OU still played K-State. Especially right now, because K-State sucks. That would be an easy win.
I just wish we didn't have a Kent State game coming up later on in the year.
Yeah, they're bad. They're really bad.
But I was just like, why are we doing this?
If Ben Arbuckle wants to score 80, he might be able to score 80 that day at Owen Field. But, again, we'll know by the time the Kent State goes final what we can expect from Jaden A the rest of the season. No question about it. Hey, 3 more hours of OU football talk is ahead with Tyler McComas and Teddy Lehman coming up on The Rush. So, although Grayson and I are done for this Monday, you're going to want to keep your radio dial right where it is. Or, if you're tuning in via the KREF app, keep that app open. So much more ahead. We will do it all again here on Locked In. Same time, same place tomorrow. Thanks for hanging. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.